What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Sports Brawl. I'm your host and the head commish, Jonathan the Raptor Master Peck. When we got a very exciting match over here tonight. And this is seeing some familiar faces who hadn't competed in Sports Brawl for a while. And then also I decided to put them up together. It will be interesting the two of them talk about sports with. And let me introduce the two brand new two players that I want to compete in this match. Introduce somebody you might recognize past the last time we saw a sports ball is very long time, couple like the last couple of months of last year. I don't know which time count works. We got Mr. Matt Beer. Matt Beer, just want to pop up right here.
Hey, man.
How you been doing?
Doing good. Just relaxing. It's been almost a year. I think December was my last match, and I was embarrassed, and I felt really, really bad. So I'm back, and hopefully I can get one more point, because that would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you very much. And you got a Colts hat right here from me for good luck.
Oh, yeah.
The horseshoe. All right. And I just want to say, well, all right, let's go introduce to Matt's opponent. You recognize him not only in TNG, other debate league. We see him throughout the fan leagues and stuff. We got Mr. the Pause Man himself, Kevin Pause. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing as well as can be expected. Trying to get over this COVID virus, but I'm going to try to put up the best fight I can, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. And that's our players right here for this evening. That's before we start the match. Let me introduce with the three judges right here, so I don't have to do the hard work. So I'll introduce to judge number one, and the first judge is currently the Sports Brawl champion. We got everybody's favorite, how about them Dad, Papa Wes. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jonathan. I'm always happy to judge Sports Brawl because this is one of my favorite leagues, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I am currently the champion of this league. It has everything to do with the fact that I just love sports. So anytime we can talk about sports, I'm always down. And hey, sports are back too. Yay! 2020 is finally not sucking that much.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go introduce the second judge right here to help me out. Introduced to another familiar face from Sports Brawl, and let me compare and almost this close right here for being Papa West into a Sports Brawl championship. We got the Rue Bear himself, Amaru. How you doing, man?
Is that what he just said? He said Sports Brawl. Never mind. I'm gonna stop. I'm good. I just always happen to be on a judging panel with that man. But anyway, it's not about me today. It's about the competitors going at it today. I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm very good. Like mine is very fine at least right here. It's just kind of boring right here, and mine just. We didn't even start the match. My wire is almost gone, so it's sort of a good night.
All right. Well, I'm happy to be here to not have to actually worry about debating, to judge and listen. I'm ready for this, so let's go.
All right. Let's introduce to the third and final judge for this evening. You recognize her, the other past debate lead. We got Adriana Ball. How you doing, Adriana?
I'm doing good. This is gonna be quite interesting because I guess both of these people haven't been debating for quite a long time. So let's see what happens. I'm quite excited. Throw your stats at me.
Hold on. Okay. Okay, I just sent it to you right now. So you're going to get that money. All right. Before we start the sports ball, let me get into some of the ground rules for those of you that join in for sports ball for the very first time. Let me just straight the ground rules. The rules is thus: when the argument starts, you have a 90-second on your opening, 5 minutes on your debate, and 60-second on your closing. Both our competitors have both one-minute extensions if you only to use it for your opening and your closing on the 4 main questions. And if it's so weird, rare example is going to be a 2-2 tie after round number 4, we'll go to our speed round right here to break the tiebreaker. So, and just wanted to say to our competitors and to Kevin right here, pop up. Are you ready? All right. Let's get to Sports Brawl. Let's get this on our way. Let's go into question number 1. In the world of Major League Baseball, which is Kevin's strength, and basically, Major League Baseball is back. Kind of with a little minor tweaking right here, all that stuff. So I'm going to break this question up. Is this: what is the best Game 7 in the World Series? So since this is Kevin's strength, let's start with him for his selection.
My selection for the best Game 7 World Series is the 1960 Pirates and Yankees World Series. It was a absolutely wild one, featuring the likes of Roberto Clemente for the Pirates and Hall of Famers Casey Stengel as the manager for the Yankees, Yogi Berra, Whitey Ford, Mickey Mantle. The Yankees scored in this whole World Series 55 runs, the most runs scored by any team in a World Series history, and more than twice as many runs as the Pirates. They went 3 games on a 38-3 scoring run, if you will. So by all means, the Yankees should have won. But there was one factor that made me pick this one. The Game 7 Bill Mazeroski walk-off home run, the only time that's ever happened in World Series history. And I think that's what makes this one the most exciting World Series Game 7 of all time.
All right. The timer. All right. We got the 1960 World Series, the Yankees versus the Pirates. Very interesting Game 7 indeed. Let's go to Matt Beer for his selection.
So I went with the 2016 World Series between the Cubs and the Indians. This game is the definition of a nail biter and sitting on the edge of your seat. This game kept going back and forth. The Cubs came in, not winning a World Series in over 100 years, and they finally got it done. They had to go to extra innings. This game literally kicked off with a home run, and it just was just straight action. This game was back and forth. So I went with that. And that's my time.
Okay. I'm going to leave his time right there. All right. We got the 2016 World Series, Cubs versus the Indians. And we got Kevin's choice with the 1960 World Series between the Yankees versus the Pirates. 2 very great Game 7s indeed. So I'm going to start with the 5-minute timer when you begins talking.
You're talking about the Indians, who are now the longest stretch of not winning a World Series. So that's basically 2 teams that were due. The Yankees had won 10 out of 12 pennants in a row, and that alone makes them the dominant team of that decade, I would say. The Pirates are more of a blue-collar underdog.
So if we're going to talk about the decade and whatnot, the Cubs in that decade were trash until the year before. The year before, they finally were starting to get back into it. The Indians weren't trash the entire thing. They might have been 1 year, but really besides that, they've been contending to not only make the playoffs, but to compete in the playoffs for a World Series. The Indians, I believe, when they won last was 1947, 49, and the Cubs was like 1908 or just like 1918. But besides that, going to the point, you had a great pitching duel between Clubber and Hendricks. And like I said, this game literally went right off. It started with a bang. Your game was pretty boring until you got to the 8th and 9th inning. You know, it wasn't exciting. To me, when I think of the best World Series, it's got to be exciting throughout the entire thing. And I did watch some of your game. I watched up to, I believe, the 5th or 6th inning. And that's kind of right around when the Yankees finally got on the board and were starting to score. But it was boring throughout the entire thing. There really wasn't anything going on until the
You could
seventh
say
and
it
eighth
was
inning.
boring. I mean, unless you consider your game where there were like 5 errors, my game had 1 error. But yeah, the pitching. I mean, I'll give you that one. But there were multiple lead changes. The Pirates came out to a 2-0 lead, and then extended that to 4-0. The Yankees took over the lead 5-4 on a Yogi Berra home run. The Yankees extended that lead in the eighth to 7-4, and then the Pirates retake the lead with a 5-run eighth inning. And not only that, but an exciting game to me. Where I know pitching duels can be exciting, but this game had 0 strikeouts. The only game in MLB postseason, not just World Series, but postseason history with 0 strikeouts. Even one of the players said that it was like a softball game. There were just hits galore.
I do want to go back to the error thing you said when you were talking about boring. You said, yeah, my game might have been a little boring, but your game had 5 errors, mine had 1. Yeah, I had 5 errors. Errors don't equal boring. That actually leads to very exciting things. That leads to scores.
The catcher threw the ball into the left field, allowing Hayward to advance. That's not exciting to
but
me.
I believe it was the Cubs, right, that did that. The Indians, they were legit scoring. They went on a rally, and like I said, yeah, your game kind of went back and forth if you consider having a gap between like 4 innings doing that, because the Pirates, they scored in the second inning and the third inning. Then it was nothing till I believe the 6th. It might have been the 5th. That's maybe when the Yankees scored. And then really, like I said, until you got to the 7th or 8th inning, it really wasn't exciting. It was just like whatever. My game throughout the entire thing was exciting. From the first batter of the game led off the World Series with a home run. That was exciting. Also, Cubs did have a pretty good manager too in Joe Madden, and you could argue that he'll be a Hall of Famer because he has won multiple World Series. He won one
maybe
for the Cubs.
But my guys are already Hall of Famers. But the thing is, a leadoff home run is exciting in the moment, but you've forgotten about that by a couple of innings. Mine, a walk-off home run in the 9th inning by an underdog team to beat the Yankees with Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, Whitey Ford. It's just that's something that you can't even explain to go to a 10-9 win.
Yeah, that's kind of exciting. Yeah, I get that walk-off home run, but going to extra innings is exciting too.
Time. Okay. Very good 5-minute debate for both our competitors. Let's go into the 60-second on your closing. Since this is Kevin's strength, let's go with Matt for his 60-second closing. Timer will begin when you begin talking.
Okay. Once again, I do want to clarify errors do equal exciting in the moment, but it also leads to changing the tide, changing the game, and it makes exciting things. And while, yes, a walk-off home run is pretty exciting, going to extra innings in the World Series is just as exciting, I would argue. This game literally was going back and forth. I believe it started going back and forth in the 4th inning, but still, it was like action in the first 4 innings by the Cubs and also the Indians. They just couldn't get on the board till the 4th inning, and then that's when the score really went back and forth. Like I said, great, pitching battle between Clubber and Hendricks. The 60s World Series, that was a boring game overall because, like I said, nothing really started to happen until the 7th or 8th inning in that game. It was scoreless for like 3 or 4 straight innings. That's not really exciting. By what I saw, there was really nothing going on. And plus, Ralph Terry wasn't really having a great game.
Time. All right. We're going to close on that. Let's go to Kevin's 60-second closing. Timer begins when we begin talking, Kevin.
No, Ralph Terry had an awful game. He got pulled in the 2nd inning, which is a decision that obviously paid off in the end. But this game having 19 runs, 24 hits, no strikeouts, the walk-off homer by Bill Mazeroski, with a team like the Pirates, who were a blue-collar team, Pittsburgh was still not a top-tier team at the time. The Yankees winning 10 out of their last 12 pennants, they were the team. And to have 3 games in the series that went 38-3 overall, it's one of those things where you cannot beat a walk-off home run in terms of excitement. I mean, the crowd goes wild. The announcers are going wild.
Time.
This is it.
All right. Let's just make sure our judges are ready. All right. Let's go. In the meanwhile, we gotta wait for Adriana. But in the meantime, let's go to our first judge, Papa West, for what do you think of the argument? Who do you think gets the point and why?
This was definitely a good argument between the two. I like how they both kind of talked about the moments on what made the game good. I'm going to give my point to Kevin. There you go. Now you can see it, kind of. I just felt he brought a lot of counters. A lot of the stuff he said, Matt wasn't able to counter as well. The only really thing Matt countered was the errors. And he said, hey, it's not really bad baseball because it changes momentum. And Kevin right there is like, the catcher literally threw it to left field. There's nothing fun about that, anything like that. So I'm going to give my point to Kevin.
Okay. Got one. Kevin. Let's go into Amaru for his thoughts on the argument and who gets the point and why.
Yeah, so I liked how both tried to set up how history would make this an essential Game 7, and they both tried to show us that they were definitely back and forth games, which between a walk off or a starting home run and extra innings, that's how the excitement came. But for me, one person kind of from the start actually like explained how the game went. I could see what was happening, and it wasn't just it was back and forth with nothing to back it up. So for me, and also being able to counter everything, I also gave my point to Kevin.
All right. With that, Kevin takes the first round lead with 1-0. Andrea, your point would it have mattered? Which point would you have gone to?
It would have gone to Kevin because I was, to make it short and simple, there was just a lot more. He was able to show me a lot more ways in how the game between the Pirates and the Yankees were played and how that particular game was exciting.
Okay. With that Kevin takes over round number 1. The score is 1-0. All right, with that, let's go into question number 2. The question number 2 in the world of the NFL, which is match strength. And basically, the postseason in the NFL is near us right here, even though preseason, all that stuff. And basically, I'm going to bring this age-old question. We bet to see in the past right here some NFL stars from the NFL draft, some of the great successes, other ones not so much coming out of college. So besides, brings me into this question right here. Besides any quarterbacks, who is the biggest NFL draft bust of all time? So since this is match strength, let's go with Matt's for his selection.
Okay, I was waiting for him to disappear. Okay, so I went with Kyjana Carter. Entering the NFL draft, he had 1,500 rushing yards and 23 touchdowns in his senior season. He, was second Heisman voting. He came in. The Bengals, they needed help with the run game along with a lot of other positions, but they felt like he was going to change everything so much they traded their 5th pick and their 36th pick in that draft to get this guy. Did he do his first season in NFL? Well, I'll tell you, he destroyed his knee in the 3rd preseason game and was out the entire rookie season, and after that, he really didn't rebound. He had like 1 or 2 decent years, but after that, he kind of bounced around the NFL, going to teams like the Redskins, which is no more, and then going to the Saints. And he really didn't do anything on those teams either. He actually, fun fact, averaged for his entire career 114.4 yards and 2 touchdowns a season. So I went with him.
All right. You're just going to concede your time right here? Okay.
Yeah.
We got Matt's selection with Kajon Carter, drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. All right. Let's go into Kevin's pick for his selection.
First off, I'd like to say the definition of a draft bust is not necessarily just the expectations and then them not living up to it. Kajana Carter was hurt. He kept pushing to come back. My pick is he was touted as the best offensive line prospect ever at Michigan State. He was selected top 5 in his draft class, alongside the names of Troy Aikman, Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, Deion Sanders. My selection is Tony Manderick, the incredible bulk, if you will. Tony Manderick in the 1989 NFL draft was 330 pounds, ran the 40-yard dash in 4.65 seconds, a standing long jump of 10 foot 3 inches, a vertical leap of 30 inches, bench press 225, an unheard of 39 times. But this guy had so many off the field issues. He even challenged Mike Tyson to a fight. His issue was drugs, and that's what I call a bust.
All right. We got Kajon Carter versus, I don't want to go correct on Kevin, though, is Tony Manderick. I just want to get the pronunciation right. Is Kajon Carter versus Tony Manderick, two arguably the biggest busts in history. So let's start with the 5-minute debate when you begin talking.
I was muted for a second. That's not good. So I do want to go to Tony for a second. And yes, he did have a lot of off the field issues, with drugs and whatnot, but there's a difference between him and Carter. He actually came back and had a very productive career in NFL with another team. Fun fact, he was picked up by the Indianapolis Colts, gave him another chance. He came in and really did elevate it and became a really good offensive lineman in the NFL. He was a tackle, you said, because he was either guard and went to tackle, or he was a tackle and went to guard. He changed positions, and he saw new life and really did have a good final few seasons in the NFL. Carter, unfortunately, did not. And yes, injuries do suck, but we've seen athletes in other sports and in the NFL too bounce back from injuries. We look at Teddy Bridgewater. He bounced back and was 5-0 in New Orleans last year. We look at the NBA with Derrick Rose, bounced back, changed his game, and is now very valuable to Detroit, who stinks, but still is very valuable to them. And he was with Minnesota as well. Carter just couldn't do it. He had 1-2 decent seasons, but Tony, he had 3. I believe he played 3 years with the Colts. 3 really good seasons with the Colts.
Really good is debatable, man.
He was one of the better offensive linemen. He was
a solid player, but not a great player.
He changed that offensive line. The offensive line was trash, and it became a real good offensive line, similar to Quentin Nelson. Except Quentin Nelson was a rookie.
Tony Manderick has publicly come out and stated in an ESPN interview that he was taking 40, 50, 60 painkillers a day and drinking for the majority of his career when he arrived in Green Bay as the 2nd overall pick. That is a quote from him. He was proven to have used performance enhancing drugs to increase his size and speed. He even went as far as to say that Green Bay was nothing but just a village. He was not the pick that he could have been, or not. He didn't live up to his potential. And Kajana Carter, my thing with him is, yes, he was hurt in the preseason game. He was hurt after that several times, but he did keep coming back. He played for the Bengals, the Redskins, the Saints, and he just kept on coming back. And you have to give him props for that. Like you said, over 1,100 rushing yards, 20 touchdowns, 66 receptions, 469 receiving yards. He had a decent career himself with actual stats, not just saying he made that line better. You can't really. That's an opinion.
It's hard to go with stats with the NFL for offensive linemen besides when you look at pancakes and whatnot. What makes an offensive lineman as good as they are is not only what he does on the field, but how he affects other players on that offensive line. Like I keep saying, a great comparison would be with Quentin Nelson. Year before, completely trash, one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Quentin Nelson made that offensive line elite. It's about chemistry. And then he comes in, the Colts took a chance, took him with Tony Manderick, and he elevated the offensive line. Now, granted, the offensive line wasn't like historically great, but he still elevated it, and the Colts team was better because of that as well. He played with the likes of Jim Harbaugh and whatnot. But while, yes, injuries stink, and yes, he came back, Carter came back, and you got to give him credit. You also got to give credit to Manderick for coming back and not touching the pills again. The steroids he took was in the beginning of his career. That's when he was doing all the drugs and whatnot. After, all that happened, when he got the call from the Colts, he said he would never do it again, and he was sober ever since. I think we also got to give credit to him, too, for that. So we're going to give credit to Carter for it. I think we also got to give credit to Manderick.
You can give Carter the credit, and you can give Manderick credit for the time that he did, the minimal time he did spend with the Colts. But Carter came back and played when he played with the Redskins and the Saints from 2001 to 2004. That was 59 games, started 14 games, in seven overall seasons. So he did come back and play. The thing about Manderick,
he wasn't that good.
All right. Very two interesting points and counterpoints of you guys' picks. All right. Since we start with Matt for his pick, let's go with Kevin's right here for his closing. 60 seconds. We'll begin when you begin talking, Kevin.
Tony Manderick came out and said that his success at Michigan State, his being highly touted, was a result of steroid use. He admitted it. He was not only a hindrance on the field, and when you have people in the draft that I mentioned, like Deion Sanders, Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, that makes it even worse. Because the Green Bay Packers could have gone for any of those players, but no, they went with this guy, and he was a hindrance off the field as well, challenging Mike Tyson to a fight, tearing up his own team's city. And Green Bay is a devout city for football. That's a common knowledge thing. So for him to trash that city, that's just not a good look. And I think that definitely defines him as the biggest bust.
All right. Very good 60-second closing on Kevin. Let's go to Matt right here for his 60-second closing. Timer begins when we begin talking.
Okay. So we can agree both are bust. Absolutely. No doubt about that. And yes, Tony Manderick was in a really good draft class. Carter was also in a good draft class, and not only did the Bengals trade the 5th pick to the Panthers for the 1st pick, they also traded the 36th pick. They felt like this guy was going to completely change things. And while, yes, one did drugs and the other was, affected by injuries, doing drugs, all that stuff, that doesn't define you as the bigger bust over another guy. It's what you do throughout your entire career. What impact did you have? Carter really didn't do anything. He had 2 decent seasons, but Tony Manderick elevated a Colts offensive line, made that offensive line a lot better, and was able to contribute a lot for a team. Carter really didn't do that at all. There's a reason why we consider Greg Oden in NBA one of the biggest busts of all time. It's injuries. That's what Carter to Manderick at least turned his career around.
All right. Yeah. So turn to Amaru. Sounds of Papa West. All right. For that, let's go into Amaru right here and give it for his thoughts on the argument and who gets the point and why.
This was a really good argument, really close. I like how both of them kind of set up that it was outside of skill, and whether it was injuries or drugs, they both kind of set that up nice. I think the argument with top 5 draft for Manderick versus the 5th and 36 picks kind of canceled each other out. And both of them kind of harped on, tried to counter with saying that the other guy came back. So for me, what it really came down to is who's able to argue that better, that their pick didn't come back as well. And for me, Matt was able to paint the picture of when it was less than 150 yards and 2 touchdowns a season compared to 3 good seasons, better than 2 good seasons. I think Matt was able to explain that a little bit better. So just by a hair, I'm giving it to Matt.
All right. Got one. Oh, Matt. And let's go into Adriana right here. And what are your thoughts on the argument and who gets the point and why?
Okay. Basically, what it all came down to me was it was a good argument at the beginning when Kevin said that the definition of a bust is not living up to is not equivalent to living up to expectations. So, but I was looking for deeper definition for that, for his argument to actually work. Whereas also Matt's conclusion of what it's important to note that a bust is what you actually did throughout the whole of your career to determine if it was a bust or not. And he was able to show me a lot more factors in which his pick was a little bit worse than Kevin's pick. So I'm giving my point also to Matt.
Okay, with that, Matt gets his first point on the board. It's a tie game, 1-1. Papa West, your point wouldn't have mattered. Which point would it have gone to?
I was ready to give Matt the point until he made that stupid comment saying that Derrick Rose has turned his career around and is now a viable option for the Pistons. What? No, I'm kidding. I also would have given my point to Matt. If you can see it. There's 2 T's. There we go. You can kind of see it.
We will not have Derrick Rose slander on this. We will not.
We'll get into this argument later. No, it was both great arguments. The only critique I have about Matt, because I would give him the point for exactly the reason said with Amaro and Andrea. Only thing, Matt, you said Kajana Carter was in a good draft class. I didn't hear that draft class, so I don't know who else was in there. I wish you brought that up, but that's really about it. Great job, both of y'all.
Okay. All right. For a bit of clean sweep. All right. Now this is a tie game, 1-1, and now it's everybody's game. Let's go into round number 3 in the world of NCAA. And which portion of the NCAA talk about is college football. And the world of college football is this. And I brought a very interesting question is this. What college football player personified college football in the 2010s? And this is a category of Kevin's selection. We're going to start with him for his selection.
My selection for the player that best defined college football in the 2010s is Tua Tagovailoa, the Alabama quarterback. Not only was he a national champion in 2017, he was the offensive MVP of that game. He was the Sporting News College Football Player of the Year, Maxwell Award winner, Walter Camp Award winner, SEC Offensive Player of the Year winner, first team All SEC, and an All American, all in 2018, and he was second team All SEC in 2019. Everybody knows the SEC during the 2010s was the dominant Power 5 conference. Tua is not only a great player, he is very smart. He graduated as a junior in high school. He graduated as a junior in college with a bachelor's in communications before he went on to be drafted into the NFL. Tua had there are many reasons I'll go into, but he is
Time. All right. With Kevin's pick, with Tua, talk about Ola. Let's go into Matt's choice of what he selected.
So I could have went with somebody like Cam Newton, Joe Burrow, Jameis Winston, but I wanted somebody who throughout his college career was able to put up the numbers. And the guy I went with was Deshaun Watson. The reason why I went with Deshaun Watson was he put Clemson on the map. He literally carried a Clemson team that we didn't think would really do a whole lot. Yeah, he might, win 8 games, whatever, but not go to a national championship. He took this team to a national championship in his second year as his first full year starting. And while, yes, they did not win, it was only a 5-point loss. He still had in that game 405 yards and 4 touchdown passes. The following year, he was able to take Alabama down, winning 35-31, having 420 passing yards and 3 touchdowns along with a rushing touchdown. He had 10,168 yards in his entire career and 90 touchdowns in 3 years. One of those seasons, it was, 8 games. So really, that could have been even more. We could have saw over 100 touchdowns. We could have saw something like, 12,000, 13,000, even 14,000 passing yards. He put Clemson on the map, and that's who I went with, and I'll go in more detail why later.
All right. He's going to concede his time right here. And by the way, in the future, when you're done with it, I can see the rest of my time next time.
Okay.
All right. Just want to make sure. All right. 2 very good choices indeed. Deshaun Watson versus Tua Tagovailoa. 2 very productive college football players in their own right. Let's go into the 5-minute debate when you begin talking.
So I'll let you go first.
All right. Well, I was going to say, I noticed you didn't bring up the ACC versus SEC thing because you know that it's true that the SEC was the dominant conference. I'm a huge Florida State fan, clearly, but there's no question that the SEC is dominant.
Yeah, it's a better conference. I agree.
Alabama had so many games during Tua's career where he didn't even get to play in the fourth quarter. So stats are going to be a little off. But one stat that doesn't speak volumes to me is quarterback rating. And with his 87 touchdowns to 11 interceptions over his career, Tua ended up with a 199.4 quarterback rating. That is the college football record. Deshaun Watson's 157.5. Very significant differences there.
Look, quarterback ratings don't really mean as much as what's on the field at the end of the day as far as stats go. And I could say that because I'm a Notre Dame fan. Ian Book had really good quarterback rating in his second year, and he's not that great of a quarterback at the end of the day. Now, while yes, the SEC is a better conference than the ACC, that's mostly because of LSU and Georgia. And then you might have once in a while Texas A&M. Other than that, it's pretty much the same exact conference. Now, Clemson isn't the only dog in that conference as far as quality teams. Virginia, from time to time, I would say about 6-7 years, is usually up there. Virginia Tech is up there. North Carolina is starting to get up there. North Carolina wasn't trash all year long. They've always had teams that were good and were battling for that conference. Clemson just really didn't do anything until Deshaun Watson came there. When Deshaun Watson came there, that changed and Clemson started to do things. But before, it was like Florida State was ruling that conference and other teams were ruling the conference. But really, outside of Georgia, LSU, and Alabama, the SEC is not, in the top 2, top 3 conferences in that, in the Power 5. I would argue Big Ten is better. I would argue that. But to go back to the point, as I wanted to clarify that real quick. Well, yes, Tua, I like him a lot. Good kid and all. I do agree. But with Tua, yes, he came in at halftime, won a national title against Georgia. Cool, that's great. Came in, was the starting quarterback all year that next year, was having some injury problems, and then got to the college football playoff, was healthy, and then got absolutely dismantled by Clemson. And then after that, he didn't take them to the playoffs. Yes, he had some injury stuff, but really looking at the following season, they weren't going to win the SEC because LSU had it.
Yeah, okay. Let's go away from stats for a second and let's talk about what kind of person Tua is. Tua is a naturally right-handed player. He switched with his father to be a left-handed quarterback.
At age 5.
Yes, but it doesn't matter. It's still an accomplishment.
It's cool and all that you can use both hands.
He also had it has nothing. That's not my argument. That he had his ankle injury, his high ankle sprain, where he tore ligaments. The usual recovery time for that is 6 weeks. Tua came back in 3 to play against LSU. Yes, they lost, but 46-41. He had wins over Mississippi State, 35-7. Every win that I can see is a dominant performance. He beat Mississippi State 35-7. He beat that was in 18. In 17, he beat Fresno State 41-10, going outside the SEC. 66-3 victory over Ole Miss, 45-7 victory over Tennessee. These are not cupcake games, and so
I would argue Fresno State is, and Mississippi State's not
okay.
Great. They're not great. Mississippi State's okay, but Fresno State, come on, that's a pretty cupcake team, especially compared to what they would play in the SEC. But to go back to it really quick, is hello, Jonathan. Their stat-wise, obviously Deshaun Watson has the better stats career-wise with 10,168 yards compared to 9,800.
He also played 3 full seasons.
Okay. Wow, this is getting very heated right here for this college football question. Kind of as college football itself. Very heated. All right. Let's go into the 60-second closing. Let's gonna start off with Matt for his 60-second closing. Timer will begin.
I'm gonna use my minute extension.
All right, he's gonna use his 1 minute extension. Right, just hold on. Let me get it set up. All right. Okay.
This is fun.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Guy, right? Timer begins. We begin talking.
Okay, I believe you were saying that Tua didn't play all 4 seasons. He's played 3 years. So did Deshaun Watson. In fact, Deshaun Watson played 2 3/4 of a season, maybe. About 2.5, 2 3/4. They played relatively same time. Tua arguably played more games. If not, it's about the same amount. But still, Deshaun Watson had more yards, more touchdowns throughout his entire college career. And let's not forget, Tua had receivers like Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs on that team. Clemson didn't really have anything on that team. Defense was pretty good, but really they weren't that good of a team. They were like a 7-win team, maybe 8-win team at that. But Deshaun Watson put them on the map because before then, Clemson just wasn't anything at all. They really weren't. They were middle of the road for the ACC. Also, ACC does have some quality teams too. It may not be consistently every year, but there's always some good teams. Like I said, Virginia Tech, they're pretty good from time to time. North Carolina's starting to come up again. You also have Miami. Didn't really do great last year, but still, they've been good from time to time in there. You had Florida State. Florida State won a national championship, too. So, go Noles. Even though I'm not a Noles fan, but still, you got to say that. So the ACC isn't some cupcake conference. They might look like it now, but back at that time when Deshaun Watson played, they really weren't at all. The SEC is really heavy loaded with LSU, Georgia, and Alabama. After that, it's kind of just a guess of who's going to win 6 or 7 games. Like I said, Deshaun Watson put Clemson on the map. He never got destroyed in a national title game like Tua did against Clemson. And Clemson had to go up against a great Alabama team when Deshaun Watson was quarterback. And like I said, first game only lost by 5, and it was able to come back and win. And I concede my time.
All right. Mind on the timer. All right. Let's go into Kevin for his 60-second closing. Timer will begin when you begin talking.
So as I said, Tua only played one full season, 15 games, started 15 games. In 17 and 19, he only played 8 and 9 games respectively. He did not have near the number of games. So arguing stats is, like I said, it's not the right way to go. But I did give you his career highlights and awards. He's a national champion. He's a national championship offensive MVP, all SEC team, first and second team in 2 different years. The Sporting News College Football Player of the Year, Maxwell Award winner, Walter Camp Award winner, SEC Offensive Player of the Year, and an All-American. And in these games, he's playing with his offhand, which he learned how to do. He broke the quarterback rating record, like I said, 199.4 to 157.5.
All right, Mar. Thumbs up for Papa West. All right, thumbs up for Adriana. All right. This is probably my favorite argument throughout the entire match so far. So let's go to our judges at the bottom from our screen, starting with Adriana. And who do you think gets the point in your opinion, and why? Angie.
Okay. I'm gonna give my point to Kevin. It was both. It was actually good argument from both competitors, but I'm giving my point to Kevin because of the fact that although Matt was able to emphasize the accomplishments of Deshaun Watson, um, he was not able to effectively counter that the awards that Tua achieved, all his accolades are actually not that important in the scheme of things. So basically, I'm gonna give my point to Kevin for this round.
All right. Got 1-0 Kevin. Kevin gets the first point. Let's go into Papa West for his choice of this argument. Who gets the point and why?
This was another interesting one. And Matt, I almost threw you out when you made the comment of the SEC is not the greatest conference because you have Georgia, LSU, and Texas A&M. You forgot to put Alabama in there, which you were talking about Alabama anyway. Why the crap did you throw Texas A&M in there? They had one good season with Johnny Manziel. Their best season in the 2010s, they were the Big 12. Very weird thing to say, but still, regardless of everything. One thing I did like about this question is you couldn't lean on stats. You had to lean more on, what they did, why they personify college football, which was definitely an interesting take. I am also just like Andrea going to give my point to Kevin as well. Just pretty much he was able to do outside of taking his team to the national championship, just his awards and accolades that he was able to do, which, Matt, you didn't bring up Sean Watson's awards.
All right.
I don't know why.
Okay. With that, Kevin gets round number 3 is 2-1 Kevin. Amari, you point would it have mattered? Which point would it have gone to?
I'm glad it didn't matter. I was going really back and forth with this one as well. In the end, though, especially with the fact that Kevin brought up he didn't play in the fourth quarter a lot, and the kind of canceling out match stats, I would have also went with Kevin.
All right, would have been a clean sweep anyway. All right, we got 2-1 Kevin. All right, we got 2-1 lead Kevin, and this is a crucial one for Matt. You need to get this point to tie the game up to go to force the speed round, and this is the question round number 4 of the world of the NBA, which is current. It's back right now in the bubble in Orlando, Florida, and bring out this question is this: which NBA player is the best slam dunker of all time? And I brought out this very interesting question to our players to answer. So let's start out with the person who selects this category, Matt, for his pick.
Okay. I was waiting for him to go. All right, cool. So I went with Vince Carter. Vince Carter is somebody who took dunking at the time he played to a whole new level. When he was playing, nobody was able to pull off the dunks he was doing at the time, outside of maybe Michael Jordan, but there's a reason why it was called Vinsanity. He was posterizing on players like Shaq, Hakeem, the Admiral, Gordon, Duncan, and Mourning, and he even jumped over a 7-foot player in the Olympics named Frederick Weiss. So I'm going with Vince Carter. I'll go into more detail later, and I'm conceding the rest of my time.
Okay. We got very good for a matchup with Vince Carter. Let's go into Kevin for his selection for the best slam dunker in the NBA.
While Vinsanity was a great player and a great dunker, I feel like there is a better choice. My choice is the human highlight film himself, Dominique Wilkins. Not only his athletic ability, his highlight reel dunks, he had multiple dunks where he could, take a play with all 10 players down the floor rather than just being a fast break dunker. And he had a powerful one-handed jam, a two-handed windmill dunk that he used to win the slam dunk contest title in 85 and 90. And even the debatable 90 or 88 slam dunk contest, which he narrowly lost in the finals to Michael Jordan on Chicago's home floor. So even Michael Jordan has said that he maybe shouldn't have won that one. Dominique Wilkins is overall the best dunker, in-game dunker, slam dunk contest dunker. He's imaginative, and he was also playing against some serious competition like Barkley, Shaq, Olajuwon in his time.
All right. Very good 2 choices with Vince Carter and also with Dominique Wilkins. 2 very prolific, talented players in the NBA. Let's go into the question itself, the 5-minute debate with when you begins talking.
So I do want to clarify, yes, both of our choices, Wilkins and Carter, both great dunkers. We can both acknowledge that. But here's the thing. In today's game, the players playing like right now, like Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, Blake Griffin, even Zion Williamson, could pull off the dunks that Dominique Wilkins could do. While yes, Dominique Wilkins did play against some really good talent, some of the guys he mentioned were at the end of his career, like Shaq, for example. Towards the end of his career, he really wasn't doing the things he was doing at that time. And yeah, age is one thing, but Vince Carter was still pulling off some really good dunks towards the end of his career. Maybe not his last season, but that was his 22nd season. But Vince Carter was able to pull off some of these really good dunks even late into towards the end of his career.
No, after he had that knee and hamstring injury in 2001, he was not the same dunker. He became a 6-man at best. He became a bench, a role player. He was not the same dunker. He did not win any dunk contests beyond 2000, which, granted, like I said, I will give you credit. He is amazing, but Dominique was able to do so in the lane. He was able to recognize plays on the move and able to put himself in a position to get the ball and use whatever abilities he had to use his multiple different dunks, not just in a fast break or a contest setting.
Vince Carter was also able to do that too. I mean, he was dunking on Shaq. He was dunking on Hakeem. He was dunking on these, incredible centers, some of the best centers to ever play the game. He was dunking on them, and it wasn't just fast break. It was in the play too. All right. And let's talk about the slam dunk contest, for example. Yeah, the slam dunk contest can be fun to watch, but even you said it, it's not the most reliable thing. They don't always determine who truly should have won. Like you said, he probably should have beat Michael Jordan, which I agree with. But we also look, there's a lot of the times those are rigged. I mean, look at this past slam dunk contest. Aaron Gordon should have won that, and it clearly was rigged,
But you're bringing up
it's been
your
rigged in the past.
opinions. You're bringing up your opinions.
It's
but
fact.
No, bring up the facts then, Matt. All I'm saying is I can bring up Michael Jordan actually released a video that said where he said that Dominique Wilkins, he admitted, should have won the 88 dunk contest. That would have given him 3 dunk contest wins, not to mention his gold medal. He had he was a 9-time NBA All-Star, all-rookie first team, the scoring champion in '86. His career went all the way from '84 or '83 to into the late '90s, and he won his gold medal on the '94 national team.
But those don't determine how good of a dunker you are. Those are team things. Yes, and you might make an all-star team, but just because you make an all-star team doesn't make you the best dunker that's playing right now. And even you just said it again. Michael Jordan was saying, yeah, I should have lost. And many people agree that Michael Jordan should have lost that same dunk contest. He won because he was in Chicago. If it wasn't fixed, then he would have won. So the slam dunk contest isn't really, but the slam dunk contest isn't really, I mean, yeah, it's cool to have it, but that doesn't determine how good of a dunker you are. You could just be voted because of maybe the location you're in or the other things. But when I look at dunker, I'm applying everything, and you are too, but the things Vince Carter was doing, he couldn't do. Dominique Wilkins couldn't do those dunks. He could not dunk on a prime Shaq. He couldn't posterize on him. He couldn't do that to Duncan. Couldn't do it to Aaron Gordon. Yeah, he's a really good dunker, but he wasn't the best dunker of his time. Oh, okay. I thought that was time for a second. Vince Carter, throughout his career, even after that injury, he was still able to get some really good dunks. Not as good as what he was doing earlier, but still.
Now, all right. Let's go into the final 60-minute closing. We're going to start off with Kevin for his 60-second closing. You still have your 1-minute extension left, Kevin. If you really use it.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Let's go into the 60-second closing. Timer begins where you begin talking.
Yes, I mentioned a couple of things that have to do with teams like winning the FIBA World Cup, gold medal, but I was referring to his personal accolades. And your opinion might be your opinion, but winning a dunk contest in '85 and then also 5 years later, and then debatably he should have won in the middle, arguably factually said by the winner himself and potentially one of the greatest dunkers of all time too, Michael Jordan. That propels him not only to a level of greatness but beyond. He's called the human highlight reel for a reason. He had the highest scoring average of his career in '87-'88. He played for not very good teams. I'll admit, Atlanta, not a very good team at the time, but he was at the heart of the team.
Time. All right. Let's go into Matt for his 60-second closing. Timer begins. We begin talking.
Look, if we were talking about personal accolades, like how many times we're voted an all-star and whatnot, then we're still uneven. But this isn't about who has the better accolades. It's about who's the better dunker. Yes, slam dunk contests are cool and all, but there's times where it's been rigged at other times. So really, winning a slam dunk contest is something cool you can put on your shelf, but it's not the most important thing in the world. That doesn't determine if you're the best dunker of all time or not. I'm not just including the all-star thing. We're including everything. We're including the regular season. We're including playoffs. We're including the Olympics. That's what we're all including. And the dunks that Vince Carter was doing were unlike any other dunks. The dunks that Dominique Wilkins was doing, players like Zion Williamson, Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon could do. Tell me, did Dominique Wilkins dunk or jump over a 7-foot guy in the Olympics? Did he dunk on a prime Shaq? Did he dunk on Hakeem, the Admiral, Gordon, Duncan? No, he didn't. Vince Carter did these things and was able to do it throughout his career.
Time. Okay. Sorry, I tried to do a slant dunk and it did not end that well. I got very hurt on that time to do it. So that's all. Sorry about that. All right. Let's go respond to our judges. Okay. Right. All right. So, one. All right. Oh. All right then. That's very good entering keys on the arguments. Let's go into start with Papa West for his thoughts on the arguments themselves and who gets the point and why.
This was another good one, really back and forth. I think the fact all three of us judges took a couple seconds to actually think when we were on camera shows that this was very back and forth. The only thing we can all be sure of is that Aaron Gordon was robbed twice. There are 2 trophies missing on that man's mantle that should be there. I am giving my point to Kevin. Again, another really back and forth. I think it really came down to, well, yes, he did have more slam dunk contest wins, and it was 5 years apart. He was also able to do it with 9 other men on the court and had the powerful one hand, powerful 2-hand. There's a lot of stuff that he brought up on that end. I just have to go slightest of margins to Kevin.
All right. Got 1-0 Kevin. All right. Let's go with Adriana with her selection and tell me who gets the point of why. Can we get the victory for Kevin or move it on? Omar will be the ultimate deciding.
Okay, yeah, this is very, very, very close. And I had after rereading my notes, I had to make a slight change to my decision because of the fact that Kevin was able to give me more ways in how Dominique Wilkins was able to be the better dunker, and the ways he was able to do it, being right and left-handed, and that even though it was it although Matt said that the dunk contests are rigged, which is in when you talk about debates, you should be able to show a little bit of proof, so that falls under conjecture for me. So I'm giving my point to Kevin.
Okay. Marv, your point wouldn't have mattered. Which point would have gone to the same thing?
All I know is I was back here screaming. There was so much that could have been said on both sides that I'm just like, come on, y'all. I'm sorry, going the opposite way. What Papa West said, y'all had passion, but man, I was just like, what about this and this and this? So it was really hard to judge. I actually very close because I was trying to make sure to keep my arguments out about what and kept them. I would have gave it to Matt because it seemed like conjecture on both sides to me. And it was the slam dunk contest versus, truthfully to me, Matt said Vince Carter can pull off dunks late that people now can pull out Dominique's dunks, and his fact that he brought up the 7-footer kind of canceled out a lot of what Kevin was saying for me in terms of in game. If you can do it in a 7-footer in game, you can do it in a game. But man, I wish I would have had some. I was back there just like, come on, y'all, come on. I'll give it to Matt.
All right. That and your winner, Kevin Paz. Congratulations, scoring I think your very first victory in Sports Brawl, I believe.
Yep, I believe so.
All right. That congratulations, Kevin. You got your very first win in Sports Brawl, and just wanted to interview right now. And before I do that, I'm gonna interview the second placer, Mr. Matt Beer. And Matt, you do put up a very good fight. You came very close to come back in, tie the game up, and just when you've been for a player who hadn't been competing like last year since December, you did a very good job coming back. So I just wanted to keep your head up, and you did fantastic on it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It like I said, it was December was the last time I played. I was a little rusty, but I did get a point. So that is all that really matters at the end of the day. I did not get knocked out this time. So I'm very happy about that. So yeah, congrats, Kevin. You played a great game. As soon as you said the 1960s World Series, I was like, yep, I'm done. That's a point to Kevin. It's like, there's no way I was going to win that. And the fourth question, I was hoping maybe I would get lucky, and maybe the judges didn't hear any of Kevin's arguments in the first question, and we wouldn't have to go to that because it was going to be very hard to argue against Dominique Wilkins as well. But yeah, it is what it is.
All right, with that, and I'm going to ask you this: is there any people around Wild Path Sports Brawl League you want to challenge with, or you want someone called out on it? Is there any person you are interested to call out a challenge?
I got to think about that. I got to look at the roster first and foremost because I don't know every single person that's in it at the moment, and I want to play somebody who maybe doesn't talk, maybe says like one or two words. So Devin from the After Dark thing, let's play Sports Brawl. That would be fun. Me and Devin going at it. I'm calling you out, Devin. Nikki, please show him, please.
All right, we'll see about that. All right, let's go interview the winner of this match, Kevin Paz. Congratulations on your first victory at Sports Brawl, and how you've been feeling right now. 3-1 lead, and so congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah, Matt, definitely awesome fight there. I had no idea which way this was going to go. Amaru, I feel you. I know there was a lot more that could have and should have been said. That's just kind of my fault. But luckily it was enough. I barely lost my last match. It went to the speed round, and I think it was a 2-1 there. So yeah, I'm happy to get a win. And just happy to get a win in anything, honestly.
Okay, with that, is there, like I asked about Matt, is there any person around Sports Brawl that you want to call a challenge with, or any certain person right here you want to call out to do a Sports Brawl challenge?
I'm not much about calling out, but I'm down to face whoever. I'll give it my all. Hopefully, put up a little bit of better performance than I did today. I know I missed a lot of key points that I should have said. Probably should have used my extension there on that last one. So just some strategy stuff I need to work on, but yeah, I'll take on anybody. I just have fun with this stuff.
Yeah. Indeed. All right, let's go to our judges and up our screen. Well, fellow judges, this is a very turned out to be a very excellent match. Would you agree, Papa West?
I would agree. It was very, very back and forth. These two are very great competitors. And I look forward to seeing both of them compete in Sports Brawl for many, many years to come.
Okay, then. Maru, same thing?
Yeah, same here. Even though I was back there screaming for that fourth one, I was screaming at both of y'all. But the passion and counters and the back and forth we both had, I ended up having it to showing how good of a match that was to me, where both of y'all could have pulled it out. So really great job, guys, and definitely look forward to seeing you go at it again, whether against each other or against anybody else.
All right. Adrian, same thing?
Yeah, this is actually very, very close. I was in a couple of questions, I was like pulling out my hairs, literally deciding who gets the point, because it was really, the arguments made really, really very close. So congratulations to both of you. It was very well done.
Absolutely.
All right. That's the time we have for Sports Brawl. If you're very intrigued in watching Sports Brawl, if you're very interested to compete in it, join our Facebook group at TMG Entertainment. And gonna go shout to our players right here. Any plugins or tie-ins that you want to start with our winner, Kevin, and people can find you.
You can find me on Facebook, Kevin Poss. I am part of TMG Trivia, one of the admins, and the commissioner of TM Geek, which is our Inner Geekdom League. So if anybody would like to get a match in that, on the trivia side of things, we would love to have you. Just hit me up.
All right. That be any plugins you want to come out?
I mean, you can find me here, on this channel doing things that are fun, and then you can also find me at the local gentleman's club eating ice cream and crying to the wonderful ladies that work there as they debate whether they should quit at that moment, so they have to deal with my idiocracy.
Kind of like some people in the world. So, yeah. All right. To our fellow judges that are above our screen, start with Papa West. Where people can find you.
You can find me all over TMG Entertainment and TMG Trivia. I run a lot of stuff there, help out with a lot of stuff there. And you can also find me outside of the club that Matt is crying in, because he is going to hand me the lemon pepper wings that I have to run down to the bubble. So there's no cross-contamination there going on.
Good call.
Yes.
All right. And where people can find you?
Yeah, but first, Papa West, were you out there with Lou Will? That's what you were doing?
I was not out there.
Other than that,
he didn't call me.
You can find me with my name basically everywhere, Twitter and Facebook. Instagram, it's Reviews. YouTube, it is Yuri Reviews. I got an episode of One Gotta Stay coming on every Monday. You will either have seen it already or there'll be another one coming up on Monday. 4 options. Pick one to save. Hopefully we'll see Jonathan was on the last one. Hopefully see a bunch of y'all who are on the screen now on a future one. And I will be doing that man's trivia pretty soon against somebody I played against like 5 million times. Looking forward to that one. Yeah, but all over these fan leagues. Great to be here.
All right. Andrea, where do you think the lovely people can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Andrea Malabag, and catch me judging here at TMG Entertainment, the heart of debate. And also you can catch me at TMG Geek, which I'm going to face somebody that's a person that's who I am going to face for the first time ever in any league. So this is going to be interesting. So watch out for that. And you can also find me in other trivia leagues playing Geek.
And if you didn't see Andrea kill it in the Full Metal Random 8-man Harry Potter match, go see her kill it in that as well, please.
All right. There's the plug there if you want to get to watch. And also, just want to say, like and subscribe to TMG Entertainment. Entertainment. I'm your host, Alex. See you guys for each other.